live, or sort of live, on the recording from the South Side of Chicago. This is Just a Few Questions. I'm your host, Marc Sims, and I have Mario Smith on the phone. Mario Smith, you're a talk
Yo,
show host, right? Extraordinaire, right?
I don't know about extraordinaire, but I am one of those,
Well,
yes.
Mario Smith from Hyde Park, Chicago. Tell the folks about your radio show.
That's called News from the Service Entrance. It's every Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock on Lumpin Radio, and we try to get at it and add some dialogue to the city and give folks something to talk about and discuss.
Lumpin' Radio, isn't that a place on like in Bridgeport or something?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Bridgeport, USA. Who knew? I never in my life,
with the
being
Bridgeport.
a black man living in Chicago, thought I'd end up in Bridgeport for
No,
anything outside of a White Sox game.
that's right. The old White Sox Park been gone damn near 30 years, and then
Right.
Bridgeport ain't the Bridgeport it was when the old ballpark was there.
Not in almost. It's hard to find it. There's still little aspects of it, where that old guard is still there, but they're thinning out really fast. And there's a lot of really creative people in Bridgeport doing some really cool stuff.
I was shocked to find out that Eddie Johnson, the current police chief here in Chicago, was living in Bridgeport.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. I saw that too. That kind
Man,
of was like, oh wow, okay,
I
yeah,
thought he was in
Bridgeport's a,
Bronzeville like everybody else, right?
yeah, you would think, but Bridgeport is an interesting neighborhood. It is definitely the conversation is changing.
Before I get to my main question, Mario Smith, why should people listen to the Mario Smith radio show? What is that? You said 2 o'clock on what day now?
2 o'clock on Thursdays.
Thursdays. Why should they listen to your
People
show, man?
because it's good. It's got good guests. I let the guests speak, and we play music that they do not play on commercial radio, and it's a different voice, and that's never a bad thing. It's always good to hear a different voice, and I really like the idea of bringing different kinds of conversations to the table. It's not the cookie cutter stuff. It's really talking about the city and being a citizen in it and why it's important to pick up on that and actually be a citizen of Chicago.
You know, I've heard you so many times on the Justin Kaufman show on WGN
Yes.
Radio. You're on there like 3 or 4 times a year, right?
Yeah, at least that's my buddy from many many years ago. So yeah, when he calls, I try to make it my business to show up.
Now, Dustin Kaufman's on the 50,000 watt wide mother stations heard over the
Yeah,
damn
yeah,
country. Probably, you never had
yeah.
delusions of doing a show at WGN.
Oh, I would love to. I'd do a show anywhere if I'm able to do what I do. If I can't do my thing, I'm not gonna try to placate to just. I mean, look, put it this way: if there was, I've had opportunities to do stuff on commercial radio, and I've either turned them down myself or was turned down because I can't honor my ancestors any other way. I would have to be. It has to have authenticity, and it has to have my voice. And there's just certain things I'm not going to do because I like sleeping at night. So
But
that's just me. But and it's probably to my detriment in some ways. But I'm sticking to that.
you got to sell out a little bit, otherwise you're not gonna go to the big
No,
time. You got to sell out,
no, no, no,
sell
no.
yourself out, sell your people out, sell somebody out.
No, I'm good. I can't do that. I'm not like, I'm not Superman or nothing. I'm not saying I'm the greatest guy ever, but it's just some stuff I cannot do, and that's one of those things I can't do.
Now, one thing, you're a lifer here. I mean, you were born and raised in Chicago.
Hmm.
Don't plan on going anywhere, right?
I don't have plans. I mean, I look, but I don't really have a.
Well, then no one's giving you an offer you couldn't refuse. That's all it is, right?
No, I haven't. I haven't been told, hey, if you want to do what you're doing in Chicago here, this is what we have for you. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen. So yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, Chicago is like any other town has changed a lot over the years. Every town will change. You've seen the changes. You've been all your life, and so that's what I want to ask you. If Chicago has 77 neighborhoods, that's what they tell me. They're trying to
Hmm.
build up a 78th neighborhood, but right now it's 77.
Hmm.
We have 77 neighborhoods, and if people, sometimes when you stay on one side of town, because Chicago's long and not so much wide but long, if we were able to travel and meet people, Chicagoans should travel and meet people from different neighborhoods, those other neighborhoods, not just the 10 or 15 we roll in. Would
Right.
Chicago be a better place if more of the residents knew other residents in different parts of the city?
Oh, absolutely. That unequivocally, yeah. Of course, there's no way it couldn't be better. My friend Tanika Johnson is doing something called the Folded Map Project, which brings people who have the same addresses on different sides of town together to have an actual conversation about what it's like to live in Chicago and why this redlining still exists and things of that nature. So yeah, man, it's always good to be able to bring people to the table. It's a big table here in Chicago, and not enough people are sitting at it. And that's what these movements are all about bringing people to the table so we can talk this situation out.
On your show, do you have a diverse guest list? A diverse, not just all one type of guest.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm serious. Your show is diverse, right?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I've got a little bit of everybody on here. I make it my business to try to represent what the city looks like from the perspective of a black man. So if that means having uh, white people or Latino people or Asian folks, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with having women on the show. I probably have more women on my show than I do men. um, I like the diversity of voices in our city, and that's why I think it's been 18 years since I started doing the show, and I don't know how much longer, but I'm good with the formula so far.
But in Chicago, we're so, I mean, the city is not as segregated, racially segregated as it was, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But some of those patterns still exist, even though a lot of people that were here 40 years ago ain't here. And
Right.
they've been replaced by other people who wasn't here, not here. But still, some of those, because it's hard to get along. I mean, let me say, help me with the best word. And when you don't know a lot of people, it's hard to get to meet other people, realize they're human beings, and maybe find out what we like and don't like, and it's all good. We ain't got to be bosom buddies, but we should be more nicer to each other in this town, or to even know each other in this town.
Yeah, it's also about meeting people where they are. You know what I mean? And having the nerve to be a human and ask questions of human beings and try to find out where people are at. We tend to always go, "Hey man, how you doing?" Don't really care about how a person is doing. It's more out of habit that we say how you doing to someone. And I think sometimes, and particularly I thought about this after the Million Man March, asking someone how are you, that's an act of kindness in itself, but we don't follow through on that act. So if I'm asking someone how they are and they tell me they're not doing well, in my mind, well, what can be done to make it better for you? And I guess if more people connected, or not, I'm not trying to say that that's what how people should think or anything, but I'm wondering if people were to connect on that level of how are you and how are you doing and how's everything going, and be earnest about it and really like wanting to know how a person is doing, what kind of city or what kind of world could this be if that was really the case, if people really wanted to know. So yeah.
Yeah. Before we wind up this podcast, I try to keep it short. What really
Huh.
divides people? Is it income, education levels, geography? What divides people here in the city of Chicago, probably across the country? What divides people?
All three of those things,
Politics too? Religion?
all five of those things,
Who you date? Who you love?
all seven of those things.
But we are human beings. Why do we allow those things that to divide us? All that
I think
other
those are
human
the
stuff.
I think those are the constructs that were put in place before most of us were born, and because we don't know an alternative to some of those things, we will always be struck by the construct and by the constriction of those uh, things that are put on, or obstacles that are put in front of us. Look, if I told you that I used to go to Funtown, and you can relate to me being a person that went to Funtown, then we're of a certain age group. We have a certain mindset, and we kind of know some things that a younger person would know. If someone tells me they went to Riverview, I cannot fathom what that means. I could see pictures of it, but I never went, and I didn't know anything about it because it was gone when I was born. Um, the constrict or the constrictions that are placed on us about religion and geography and income and things of that nature. When you can look on the other side of town and somebody can tell you, man, I was in Lincoln Park and it was the most beautiful time I've ever had. I went up to the beach and da da da. and it was, I was fine. And that same person is trying to get somebody to come to South Shore, and that person's like, I'm not going to South Shore. Why would I? All I need is everything I need is where I am. There's no equanimity um, in terms of the money or the resources in Chicago, and that's a problem. Is it a solvable problem? Who knows, man? Hard to say, but it is a problem, no doubt.
Once again, tell people when to listen to the show.
Check
Tuesdays,
out news from the service entrance every Thursday
Thursday.
afternoon on Thursdays, Thursday afternoon, 2 o'clock Central on WLP and LP Chicago. You can go to lumpingradio.com, and I'm there.
Send me the link via social media. I'll put it on the bottom of this video. Mario Smith, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Mark, man. I appreciate you asking me.